can't thank you enough for gathering tonight in this celebration party for the release of the audiobook for my book, Rise to the Sun, 7 Footsteps and 7 Prayers for Getting Out of Hell. And you'll learn a little bit about the book, but what I really wanted to do tonight is really make it a party more than anything else. It's not to educate, it's to just be together. So I hope you'll take a pause when you listen to some of the material in there. Is a few things let me go over. I narrated the book during COVID, and so it was important to me in the making of the presentation to share with you that we are still all connected during COVID. The book came out during COVID. I recorded the audiobook during COVID. And as we all know, lots of things have happened to bring us closer to each other during this time, especially as some people were saying when we came on, they're not traveling, they're maybe with their families and maybe not, but we're together tonight. And I really can't thank you enough for that. When you get the audiobook, I'm going to ask you all please only one thing, which is to write a review. The reviews really matter on Amazon, so please do that. And it will release hopefully tonight or in the next few days. So I'm going to begin a presentation. It'll be about 30 minutes. So if you need to get up and get some champagne, as my friend Alice said, we don't have real champagne to give you tonight. Please help yourselves to get up and be relaxed and enjoy the show. Thank you for raising the glass of champagne, Bill. I see you doing that. If you need to do anything or have some questions or remarks or having problems with the Zoom, please put it in the chat and I'll try to keep an eye on it, or Talbot and Bill will keep an eye on it. So I'm gonna just say greetings from New York City, where everything has changed this year. And I address you, as I just said, during COVID-19, which we all call the Great Pause. COVID-19 and my book, interestingly, are intertwined. And therefore, again, I'm very happy to celebrate with you, not just the print book, but the audiobook that we celebrate tonight, because a part of the audiobook is music. And singing is how we share, and it's also how we pause. And so in the next half hour, we'll share not just with words, but with audio and visuals, video and music. Both the nonfiction book and the audiobook blend spirituality and culture. And there's one word for Rise to the Sun that I'd like us all to fix our minds upon. It's what the book is really about, and the word is freedom. It's about making freedom the most important thing. I don't know how else to explain it. I didn't want to and don't want to go into what we've all endured this year, but I can say that freedom is extremely important. And I think that the journey towards freedom is the one that we should be taking. It's about wanting freedom. And so the journey to freedom is a progression for those of us starting, especially for those of us starting a new path and a new purpose. It's not just starting over and not just letting go, but taking responsibility for the freedom that we gain. Because we should ask what happens when freedom gets taken away, or how to restore it. We have to take responsibility for having freedom, for sharing it, and for living it. But before we can do all that, in Rise to the Sun, the central idea is seeing, retraining ourselves to see. And many people, and there's a quote in the book, it's how I open the prologue, many people believe that to fix ourselves in the world, we need to do things. I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to focus on fixing that. But I believe something differently. I believe we need to see things differently before we try to fix everything differently, which is why I wrote the book. And we all know since we were little kids that the process of spiritual healing happens when we take time with art and prayers and singing and music. These open us up to seeing beauty. And learning to share with others is what's supposed to be shared, our being worthy of love. So I would like to share this presentation with you, and we'll just have to do this low tech. Here we go. And as I said, if you have any big problems with Zoom, please put them in the chat box. In the book, this rendition of Cape Cod's Highland Lighthouse by Ida O'Keeffe, who is an artist every bit as gifted and lustrous as her older sister, Georgia O'Keeffe, continues to represent strength, guidance, and hope. When feeling like voyagers at sea and scared of the unknown, in the midst of the darkness, a glimmer of light will emerge. It's our choice to follow it. When people see my book cover, they often say, right, we are in hell. And it's interesting that this book emerged right in the midst of the planetary COVID-19 pandemic, a time for healing and change, so say many, everywhere. This book's purpose was strongly lit against everyone's understandable and perceivable pessimism. There are many ways in which we are all grieving these days and feeling confrontation with things about which we don't know how to fix. Healing and freedom, getting out of hell are the name of the game in 2020, 2021, 2022, every year you're blessed to live. So the book asks, what does this mean? A new way of seeing. First, my experience making the audiobook during COVID proves that home is the place to be right now, 2020, and maybe for quite some time. During lockdown, there was no such place to go as a nice, quiet, professional podcast recording studio. Home was it. I live in an all-glass apartment in the West Village in New York City. And no, I couldn't go into the closet to record this book. Here you see the setup. I had to get away from the windows. So this was the setup. I propped up on a table. I stuffed the luggage with down pillows to buffer the city sounds of Manhattan. My editor turned me on to a new word to describe it. It's a funny old word, steampunk, which is a combination of Victorian era aesthetics and science fiction. And it really does look that way with this rig that I had to record in. And in lieu of summer holidays, I recorded this book in my swimsuit and most often topless, which I'm not going to show you. And it was a great challenge to narrate a pitch perfect 304-page audiobook in the heat of summer in New York City. But 5 days after my book was published by New Degree Press on the 15th of April, 2020, New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo gave a press conference. Love wins, always. It was really moving. He had reached 111 days of continuous press briefings. In order to beat this, he asked us to see and behave with love.
We're going to make it because I love New York, and I love New York because New York loves you. New York loves all of you. Black and white and brown and Asian and short and tall and gay and straight. New York loves everyone. That's why I love New York. It always has, it always will. And at the end of the day, my friends, even if it is a long day, and this is a long day, love wins, always, and it will win again through this virus. Thank you.
It was that speech that I see as a prayer, as very actionable, because in every possible way, he told us, wear a mask for your neighbor, wear a mask for yourself, wear a mask because it's stupid not to wear a mask. Every chapter of my book includes prayers which, like this press conference, in a crisis, are not exclusively religious. Prayers are the ultimate expressions of human feeling, carrying us from moment to moment through many real emotions. Prayers give us something to do. I hope you can rise each day to receive the love of New York and of your own city, your own beloved community. For rise to the sun is to see how you can be of service and to be aware of what it is you share with others. All this grief is not what we should be sharing. Here's what a footstep is. Technically, it's a way forward, like moving your feet forward and walking forward, but number 4 here is what the 7 footsteps guide us towards, which is a way of life, conduct, how we behave. It's what we share. And I've learned it's the kinder, gentler way. The upside of recording an audiobook during COVID-19 was how quiet New York City was. Just look at Park Avenue. In the middle of the day, you can see both emptiness and beauty. 2 people, 5 or 6 cars, and pink flowers the entire length of Park Avenue. I'm feeling like the earth just sent us all to our rooms to think about what we've done. Moving from grief and trauma to freedom is what the 7 footsteps are about. I grew a coronavirus beard and read prayers. Bless you, beautiful Apollo, for you are indeed a king of kings, the noblest of all. And I don't know if you can all see, but it started to pour rain here just as we're reading the prayer, which is totally beautiful. I scribbled to myself about why this book matters. How may I serve instead of what might I get out of this? The last Zoom took place on Easter and Passover, and the world began to sing online. All the singers and musicians from Marie's Crisis, a legendary piano bar in the West Village of New York City, sing to the world now online from their apartments. And in the audiobook, we also encountered music. Processions by Caleb Beamer, a Hawaiian legend, singer, songwriter, composer, and a guitar master. I want to extend great gratitude tonight to Emmy Award-winning filmmaker Tom Vendetti. He lives on Maui, for providing this music from the concept album, Himalayan Sessions. It benefits the Aloha Music Camp that provides ukuleles and music in third world countries and promotes aloha around the world. Moving from grief and trauma to freedom is what the 7 footsteps are about. Like that lighthouse by Ida O'Keefe, the message of the book says when we take up freedom as our lifelong aspiration, it lights our way out of hell. From the audiobook for Rise to the Sun, this is the first prayer for the footstep called Breaking Free. Prayer for Breaking Free. Breaking Free from Sorrow by Richard J. Marks. Sorrow struggles against sorrow. I petition for unblocking the sorrows of my sisters and mothers. Guide yourself to the end of brute force with she who hears all the sounds of the world, Kuan Yin, sound perceiver, beloved Asian goddess of compassion. Congregating through music, beauty, love, guiding gently forward in spiritual redirection, neither the path of least resistance nor most resistance. There is nothing to do to give myself hope, except to see the format is changing. There is no more, no one more to do. Be gentle with your breaking free. As far back as I can remember, I'll just tell you, I've been in pursuit of beauty and freedom and love, but I failed. All of a sudden, or so it seemed, my resume had a big blank page right in the middle of my life. How did I get kicked out of my own life? From the audiobook for Rise to the Sun, here's a passage from the second footstep, Don't Believe the Pain. By the time 2 hours had passed, I had turned fully sour, like the Roman word vapa for sour wine. This was a damning rage. No one, not one person I've ever known was spared. The cascade of insults was as gripping as a day of hateful debates in the British Parliament. Filthy, shameless, stinker, thief, triple thief, damn you beastly idiot. This may not pass, I worried. I'd better not go one more inch forward. Something very bad could happen. And something very bad was happening. What Tolle calls pain body, which I had buried the day before, had been taken away, shed. The protective layer of myself had been removed. Have you ever had a raft taken from you when you can't swim? Or have you felt your wetsuit rip open to find yourself pummeled in a cold ocean wave? So it was then. The pain body had come off. Where is my skin? Rather than seeking to shed our skin, or believing we can, we are given painkillers, we drink, we lie. People don't want to get out of pain. They like their pain. It's because it is their most familiar skin. I was exposed to the full and total fury of my life's pain. I thought about every person who had betrayed me. Whether as a child, adolescent, or grown person, there was not in this moment one person dead or alive who had not abused my goodness, lied to me, left me, cut me so far down. Who did they think they were? My dignity was rising, finding air to breathe. How can we break free? From moment to moment, we influence everything around us. This singular message, that is only from moment to moment that we break free or heal or listen or say a prayer in order to pause. This message in the book is from Colonel Nancy B. Black, MD, who is a military psychiatrist in Washington, D.C. Dr. Black says to remember that from moment to moment, we influence everything around us. Remember, there's no need to go on making ourselves feel we can't be free or succumbing to people who may judge or persecute us for wanting to change. Dr. Black says to people all the time, and she has a note to self in her office, and it says, always wear joy and always be ready for something wonderful to happen. From the audiobook for Rise to the Sun, Dr. Nancy Black's prayer for being worthy of love. Prayer for worthy of love. Be peace, feel peace, breathe peace, live peace. By Nancy B. Black, MD, Colonel, U.S. Army, retired. Be peace, feel peace, breathe peace, live peace. Like for the soldiers and their families, for all to whom a legacy of healing is offered, we each have a personal responsibility, the ability to create a version of acceptance in the world externally that will move us toward an acceptance in ourselves. To arrive and be there, you can also feel heart, live heart, be heart. in India, I plucked and inscribed a Bodhi tree leaf from a large and very old fig tree where the women continually gather and walk clockwise around the tree with strings, singing and saying prayers. Also called a bo tree, according to Buddhist tradition, is where the Buddha sat when he attained enlightenment, Bodhi. I wrote this prayer on that bo leaf. From the audiobook, for the seventh footstep, this thing called love. Prayer for this thing called love. Tree of Awakening Gratitude by Richard J. Marks. Every time you smile, it is a reminder of the sweetness of giving freely. The source of happiness is found within. There are miracles happening all around. The Jain attitude says, people are blind with their knowledge. Drop your knowledge. Knowledge is worthless. Wonder is precious. Regain the wonder that you had when you were a child, and the kingdom of God belongs only to those who are able to become children again. This Bodhi tree leaf, known as Bo, a sacred fig tree, was born in India and heart-shaped is a living presence of gazing with gratitude. All right. Can you all hear me? Great.
Yes.
So we have a little pause here. Thank you for listening
Does
to
one
first.
unmute and applaud you?
We're not done, but
Oh.
we're halfway. Barbara, let me keep going. The seventh footstep of the book is called This Thing Called Love. There's a story in that chapter about someone who has learned a way to get self-love into the body. And the way in, rather than through words, is through music, is sharing music with others. And the verb he uses for music is to share. One of the best places anywhere on earth for that, I think, is in Marie's Crisis. It's a below ground bar in New York City. In the seventh footstep, by then we have said many goodbyes to all that grief and trauma and all the bad feelings we've carried for so long, and we arrive at this thing called love. I'm going to bring you back to the presentation for a little surprise. Prayer for this. The finale of the book calls us to action. Where does freedom take us? Or rather, where will we take it? We see that we're supposed to be singing. And yes, it is this thing called love. Here is Franca Vercelloni from Marie's Crisis in New York City. Hope you enjoy.
Hello, my name is Franca Vercelloni. I'm an actor and a musician, and I play the piano at Marie's Crisis, the West Village piano bar that Richard J. Marks mentions in his book, Rise to the Sun. I love being with Richard and all of you tonight. Marie's Crisis is wonderful and unique because it is a musical theater sing-along piano bar where everyone is welcome and every patron in the tiny basement space sings along. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, a professional singer or a doctor, lawyer, or teacher. Everyone sings together and experiences a great sense of freedom and joy. Richard had a good reason to include Marie's Crisis in his book, in the chapter called This Thing Called Love. Sing along if you'd like. What is this thing called love? This funny thing called love. I just can't handle it, this thing called love. I must get round to it, I ain't ready. Crazy little thing called love. Just who can solve its mystery? Why should it make a fool of me? It cries like a baby in a cradle all night. It swings, it jives, it shakes all over like a jellyfish. I kinda like it. Crazy little thing called love. Crazy little thing called love. What is this thing called love?
Transforming ourselves is very beautiful, and we are just beginning. I'd like to take a moment to thank the brave women and men interviewed in this book, whose love is at the core of every battle, who've come through their suffering to a new and freer way of seeing, to freedom. I revere your courage. I'd just like to say their names: Nancy B. Black, Tamara Buchwald, Kathy Eldon, Tim McHenry, Winsome McIntosh, Joanne Wright-Milliken, Jessica Rockwood, Marc-Olivier Strauss-Kahn, the Reverend Ava Suarez, Tom Vendetti. And I stuck a photo in because these flowers arrived today from my dear friend Cherie. They're so beautiful. I wanted to share them with you. They came around 2 o'clock. Couldn't thank you more for the beauty of these flowers. I would just say here, the final credits are to the people at the Creator Institute New Degree Press, whose names I will not read, but I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I think we could, when we open up the microphone, give a little round of applause to these creative leaders who made this book alongside me. I love you. And this is the last slide. There will be one more surprise at the end, but I would ask you all again, please, when you get the audiobook, please write a review on Amazon. And we are nearly at the end. There is one more last piece of music if you'd all like to stay for it. But I think before we do that, if there's anyone who would like to either, I'm going to just go with this for a minute, say something or share something. Barbara, if you're still with us, you're welcome to sing. Kathy, if you'd like to say something. Winsome.
Well,
Kathy,
you're gonna do a surprise now, do your song, one more song, and then we'll talk.
okay, we can do that. That's a good negotiation. Let's do that. Kathy, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that after watching this incredible journey that you've made to bring this book to fruition and to the world, I'm just so honored to be here, and I know we all feel the same way, and well done. You've created a beautiful program that is touching my heart as the sun is setting here, and it's just an absolute joy to be moved and touched by you and by everybody who's present. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah,
Not Winston.
ditto.
Everybody agrees.
Richard, I would like to say something.
Yes, Winsome.
We met when you were a journalist and you interviewed me for a magazine. And I didn't think much of it, but for whatever reason, my philanthropy seemed to strike a chord with you. And the next thing I remember about how beautiful you are and how generous you are with your feelings was sitting in a church on the National Cathedral of my husband's memorial service. And you coming down the aisle and handing me, without a word, a box of tissue. I can't tell you how much that meant to me at that point in time. And it's just a wonderful example of the sensitivity and the real emotion that you have for the people around you. And I'm very, very grateful to be a part of your life and to have you as a part of mine, because you've also been helping me with my own version of a book of autobiography. So for all those memories that we've had just in the last 5 or 6 years, I am really grateful to be a part of this group. So thank you.
That is so kind. Thank you so much. There was nothing stopping me from driving from Chapel Hill to Washington, D.C. that day to be with you. It meant so much to me to be with you and your husband, in honor of your husband, Michael McIntosh. For those of you who don't know, Winsome and her husband, Michael, are two of the great environmental philanthropists anywhere, and have made a huge change in the world, mostly through rule of law. As part of the original creators of the National Resources Defense Council, Winsome is one of the few rare, and Ann Lusky, who is here, Winsome, with us tonight, who is also an environmental philanthropist who gives quite a lot of her attention to the oceans, plastic pollution. But Winsome's nonprofit or NGO in London called ClientEarth, like the NRDC, is focused on having, if I'm not wrong, Winsome, hundreds of environmental attorneys retained to work on both the positives and the negatives, blocking and creating laws for civil society for the environment. So thank you for your words. It's the most important path that we be on for the earth. I mean, it's in my book. I'll say one last little thing. I had my publisher, Eric Hester, said, you can't make one book be two, because I kept trying to slip the environment into the book, especially in the chapter called Freedom to Share. It was about sharing with the earth. And the prayer of that chapter is the Iroquois prayer of Thanksgiving, which to me is worth reading every single day. It's in the book, and it's very nice in the audiobook because there's a bell, which is supposed to be. What's amazing is that every time they gather for a legal reason or a political reason or any reason, they read that prayer of Thanksgiving. And it's a very simple, obvious thing to say, but that Benjamin Franklin learned a lot about how we built our democracy from working and living with the Iroquois. So that chapter only has a hint of the environment in it, but really that's the whole thing. I love you, Winsome. Thank you for saying that.
So I wanted to say that I've met Richard through St. James Church. We acolyted together. I remember the first day we did, and Richard is a very special person. He gives so much of himself all the time. And I've never seen him depressed or sad, although sometimes he may be. He always has a positive, radiant look. And this achievement of the book has been amazing. And you worked so hard on this. And I just want it to be a great success for you, because you deserve that in your life. And I just want to bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey, Richard, I would love to say one thing.
Yeah.
I would love to say many things, but I'll keep it to one. One of the things that I think you talked about, I think is so important, which is the ability to open ourselves up to the need to be loved, right? It's saying to the world that we're not everything, and that's not a question of making ourselves vulnerable. It's about making ourselves open to love. And it's giving those around us the chance to flex their empathy muscle. And if anything, what I've learned through St. James is when you're given the opportunity to lift someone up, to pray with them, to support them in whatever it is they need, there is a sacred moment that happens that is a blessing for all. And we rob people of the opportunity to experience that when we're not willing to be open, when we're not willing to say we're hurting, when we're not willing to say, I need help.
Mm.
And so we need to all realize the opportunity to, the chance to say, give me some support is as much a gift to someone else as it is a gift to you. And I think that that is something that comes across in your book. And I hope that coming out of COVID, we all realize that we can shed that skin and realize that we're all pained and hurt and damaged without making ourselves feel vulnerable. Because in that way, we can open ourselves up to love, we can open ourselves up to grace, and we can allow others to come to us with their full gifts.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Talbot. Raise a glass to opening our hearts. And there's two things I just want to say in the book. There's even a whole thing about how in Northern European countries, they make a focus of teaching empathy to young kids. And I stuck all that in there and left it there because it seems to me that we need to be doing that in our country. We don't really necessarily show people easily when they're young how to do that, how to accomplish what you just said about empathy.
Well, not only that, we don't teach our children in the younger generations that life is not a linear journey, right?
Right.
It's going to be a journey filled with ups and downs, and that's okay, because in the downs we learn, in the ups we learn. And if we're given the opportunity to experience both of those, we grow as humans, we grow as spiritual beings, and we grow as God's children.
Anyone else like to contribute before we?
Yes.
Who's
Barbara.
coming? Barbara.
I knew you were special. I just didn't know how special you were. I didn't know it was so deliberate and so intentional. I just thought you were.
Did we lose her there for a minute?
It froze.
It froze. Oh, right on that note. Hopefully she'll come back.
I want to sing for you.
Oh, everyone, that would be like an astonishing treat.
I was thinking La Vie en Rose because it's about sad love, but it's about love.
Please.
Des yeux qui font baisser les miens, un rire qui se perd sur ma bouche. Voilà le refrain sans retouche de l'homme auquel j'appartiens. Quand il me prend dans ses bras, il me parle tout bas, je vois la vie en rose. Il me dit des mots d'amour des mots de tous les jours, et ça me fait quelque chose. Il est entré dans mon cœur une part de bonheur dont je connais la cause. Is that enough?
Yes, thank you so much.
Oh, no, you have to finish the verse.
Moi pour lui dans la vie, il me l'a dit, l'a juré pour la vie. Et dès que je l'aperçois, alors je sens en moi mon cœur qui bat la 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 la. La 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 la.
Wow.
I don't know how it sounds over the phone. I'm on my
great.
phone.
Like angels.
Thank you.
Thank you so. Oh, how beautiful.
Can I sing for you?
Oh,
Yes.
wow. Yeah.
Okay. Miriam Makeba. In this world where people are restless, wondering where to turn, looking for answers to questions they once learned. I started too high. In this world where people are restless, wondering where to turn, looking for the answers to questions they once learned. And they light the candle, but both ends do they burn, asking love, what is love? For people who know the answer is love. Love, what is love? For people who know the answer is always love.
Yay.
Thank you. The answer is always love.
Beautiful.
Here's to, I loved it. Oh, also, Richard, am I frozen still? Because I want to say how wonderful you are. You came to my shows. You bring me flowers. You carry my flowers. You carry my bags. You carry my purse. You carry my suitcase. And you go to dinner with us, and you're so elegant and so lovely. I adore you.
I adore you too.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. When you come back to New York, everyone on this Zoom call will be invited to watch Barbara Brussell perform live.
Thank you, sweetheart.
I am going to close with something. It's 8 minutes. If you have 8 minutes, I welcome you to please stay. It's worth it. It's a beautiful piece that I found. I, like Andrew Cuomo, like the songs that you two just sang, I see it as a prayer. I see almost everything now as a prayer. And when somebody says something or offers something now, if I don't like it, I have to be careful how I respond to them, because they're offering a prayer of some sort. It may be their wish or their awkward way of saying something, but it's still a prayer. And that is why, frankly, I'll just say this, in the book, there's 7 prayers, although there's really 9 or more. So there's a bonus. The prayer, I realized, is what gives us something to do. Because as I kept thinking in the writing of the book, what is it I'm going to tell people to do? I realized there's volumes of aisles of books in bookstores about yoga and meditation and breath work and exercise and eating well, but that's all stuff to do. But the prayers are the thing to not only give us pause, but give us beauty. And what we just saw now, everybody just opening their hearts in one place. So I'm going to play that. Please sit back. We'll come back at the end, so I won't leave you. If you'd like to visit a few more minutes at the end, I'd be delighted. What this is, here, let me just say, before I play it. 70 members of the Long Island music scene united to create We Are the World during COVID lockdown in New York in April. And it's incredible. We Are the World is such a great act of generosity to humanity to begin with, but I love that they're not the most famous people, Stevie Wonder and Lionel Richie, and these are real people in Long Island who put this together, and they did it just like we did, purely out of love. So here it is. I'm going to share the screen and we'll be back in about 7 or 8 minutes.
comes a time when we heed a certain call, and the world must come together as one, yeah.
There are people dying, oh, and it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can't go on pretending day by day
that someone somewhere will soon make a change.
We are all a part of God's great big family, and the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the world, we are the children.
We are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a brighter day, just you and me. Well, send them your heart, so they know that someone cares, and your lives will be stronger and free.
As God has shown us by turning stone to bread.
And so we all must lend a helping hand. We are the world, we are the children.
We are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving.
Oh, there's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives.
It's true, we'll make a better day, just you and me.
We're down and out, and it seems no hope at all. But if you just believe, there's nowhere we can fall.
Well, let's realize all that a change can only come when we stand together as one.
We are the world, we are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me. brighter day, so let's start giving.
That's the choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we'll make a better day, just you and me.
We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me.
All right, let me hear you.
We are the world,
We are the world.
we are the children,
We are the children.
we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving.
Start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day. Just you and me. Let me hear you. We are the world. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own life. It's true, we make a better day. Just you and me. Yeah. We are the world. We are the world. We are the children. We are the children. We are the ones who make a better day. So let's start giving. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. Oh, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day. Just you and me.
We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me.
We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones to make a better day. So let's start giving. Hello world, that's a song we're singing. We're changing our own lives. It's true, we'll make a better day, just you and me.
We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me.
That made me cry, Richard.
Thank
Isn't it amazing? And it goes with what we're in still, is this beauty during COVID. Even
My
though
daughter, who's 17, was on the other side of the laptop, and she did the whole song in sign language while they sang. She's part of a choir, and they do that song, and she does the sign language for the hearing impaired. So I was crying even more. Thank you
Oh.
for sharing that, Richard.
Beautiful. I was crying too. So much talent and love and beauty, and everybody's soul's on the line. You feel it comes right through. So beautiful.
That's the state of being that I hope we can all share.
Beautiful,
Thank you.
Richard, and very spiritual. Thank you for a wonderful hour.
Love you all.
Love
So,
you.
thank you.
Love you. I'll call you in a few days or so, or I'm doing a climate cabaret thing I'll let you know about.
Climate Cabaret.
It's a Zoom thing. It's a Zoom meeting on next Thursday at 10 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Oh, I'm sorry, the 10th at 8 o'clock your time. I'm hosting the cabaret. I've lassoed a bunch of people, so I'm like kookamonga, but it's going to be exciting.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Climate
There's
Cabaret.
a symposium on cabaret on it's called a Climate Convergence Uniting for Victory 2021. It's like so many people coming together for a symposium for 2 days.
Great.
And my friend, who's like the activist leader of it all, asked me to gather some people to do a cabaret